Welcome to the Clark County Shooting Complex. In order to ensure utmost safety for both shooters and spectators, there are rules and regulations that must be strictly followed on our rifle and pistol ranges.
Hi, welcome to the Clark County Shooting Complex.
After paying line fees, purchasing targets, and/or rental equipment, proceed directly to the range safety tower. Present your receipt and safety video card for table assignment. Range safety officer instructions must be followed at all times. All persons on the range must wear eye and ear protection. Hot live fire cycles run approximately 20 minutes. Cold ceasefire cycles run approximately 10 minutes. During live fire conditions, the ceasefire range safe light will be turned off and the red flag will be flown. Only when instructed by the RSO inside the safety tower may shooters go forward of the yellow safety line and handle firearms. Shooters arriving to the line may place firearms and gear on their shooting tables. Shooters may prepare their targets behind the yellow safety line. To ensure the safety of all facility patrons and staff, do not clutter your assigned shooting table, creating an unsafe condition. Shooters may not go forward of the red firing line at any time during live fire. Uncased firearms must be handled and must be unloaded, carried with their actions open and muzzles pointed up. While at the shooting tables, muzzles must be pointed downrange. If moving between tables, muzzles must be pointed up. During live fire, shooters may pick up their brass between the red and yellow line only. Firearms will be cased and uncased, holstered and unholstered only at the shooting tables. Do not point your firearm at anyone. Drawing from a holster may only be done from left or right of the table, not from behind the shooting table. No shoulder or cross-draw holsters are permitted. Black powder firearms may be charged at the table and then primed with muzzle pointed downrange. Smoking is prohibited around black powder. Black powder firearms may only be charged from a powder flask with a measuring apparatus. They may not be charged from a powder can. Black powder containers are not permitted on the shooting tables when firing. If you are planning to depart the range during the ceasefire range safe period, following the current live fire period, you must prepare your firearms during live fire conditions.
5 minutes until break. If you're planning to depart the range,
5 minutes before a ceasefire range safe period, the RSO in the safety tower will give a 5-minute until break warning over the loudspeaker. If you are planning to depart the range, you should collect your firearms and equipment at this time. 1 minute before ceasefire range safe period, the RSO in the safety tower will give a 1 minute until break warning over the loudspeaker. If you are departing the range with an uncased firearm, it must be done during live fire conditions only.
Ceasefire! Ceasefire! Ceasefire!
Anyone may call a ceasefire if an unsafe condition occurs. All shooters will immediately cease shooting and unload their firearms and put them on the shooting table. During ceasefire range safe conditions, when instructed by an RSO to cease fire, shooters will immediately stop shooting, open and empty all firearms, remove all magazines, remove all ammunition, lock actions open, and ground all firearms on the shooting table with the muzzles pointed downrange. Any firearm that is holstered must be grounded on the shooting table with muzzle pointed downrange. No firearms may be reholstered at this time. During ceasefire range-safe conditions, shooters will stand behind the yellow safety line until given further instructions. All activity at the shooting table is prohibited during the ceasefire range-safe period. The RSO in the safety tower will declare the range safe and remove the red firing flag. The ceasefire range-safe light will be turned on and remain on during the ceasefire range safe period. You will be asked to remove your hearing or ear protection at this time to better understand range commands. When the line is verified clear, the RSO will instruct you that you may go forward of the red firing line and check and/or change targets. At this time, during ceasefire range safe conditions, you may pick up brass on the range side of the red firing line. During ceasefire range-safe conditions, shooters must stay behind the yellow safety line unless checking or changing targets. Do not handle or touch firearms during ceasefire range-safe conditions. Do not approach shooting tables. If there's an item you need from or around your shooting table, raise your hand and an RSO will assist you. When you are finished checking or changing your targets, return to the area behind the yellow safety line. Do not approach your shooting table for any reason. During ceasefire range-safe conditions, new shooters may put out target frames and targets, but may not approach their assigned shooting tables until live fire conditions. Shooters arriving to the tower must wait until the live fire period to approach their assigned shooting table and set up their firearms for shooting. During ceasefire range-safe conditions, shooters finished shooting will return target frames to the storage bins, but may not approach shooting tables to pack up equipment. If a shooter is planning to depart the range during ceasefire range-safe conditions, all firearms must be cased and equipment behind the yellow safety line prior to the start of the ceasefire range-safe cycle. If you are planning to depart the range with an uncased firearm, you must wait until the range is in a live fire cycle to depart. When all shooters have returned from checking or changing targets, the RSO in the safety tower will deem the range clear.
Shooters, put your eye and ear protection.
The RSO will instruct shooters to put on eye and ear protection, and the next ceasefire range safe break will be in 20 minutes. At this time, shooters may approach shooting tables, case and uncase, holster and unholster firearms, and resume shooting or prepare to leave the range. All range users and shooters are personally responsible for range safety and safe shooting. All range users and shooters are responsible to immediately correct any unsafe condition. Report any unsafe condition to an RSO. Place targets in such a way that bullets impact the backstops only to avoid dangerous ricochets. No shooting at unauthorized targets. Authorized targets are determined by the RSO. 50 BMG shooting is permitted at the 200-yard range only. Class 3 firearms will be benched or tripod mounted while shooting on the public ranges. For any other consideration, please see an RSO. Armor-piercing and phosphorus tracer ammunition is prohibited. Do not shoot at target frames. A replacement fee will be assessed for deliberately shooting frames. Deposit all trash and cigarette butts in appropriate receptacles. Parents are responsible for their children at all times. Pregnant shooters are advised against being exposed to firing line noise. All shooters are advised to not smoke or eat while shooting and to wash their hands before they leave the range. Alcohol and drugs are prohibited on range. Persons who have been consuming alcohol or are under the influence of drugs are prohibited from shooting. Violations will be enforced. Violators may be asked to leave the facility and are subject to criminal and/or civil sanctions. Thanks so much for being here at the Clark County Shooting Complex. Have a great day and good shooting.